College District Candidate Forum. My name is Jan Wagner. The League of Women Voters, the North Orange County Community College District, and the candidates and I welcome you to this evening's forum. The League of Women Voters is a trusted, nonpartisan political organization that has been active for 100 years. While we never endorse a candidate or a party, we are directly involved in shaping the important issues to keep our community strong. As a League member, I have the opportunity to contribute in ways that have great impact on local, state, and even national issues. If you're interested in learning about how you can make a similar impact, I encourage you to visit our League website at lwvnoc.org. Membership is open to men and to women. In accordance with pandemic guidelines, we are conducting this forum without any in-person audience. The good news is you are all watching comfortably from home, either by tape later on your televisions or computers via YouTube, or as on Zoom as we broadcast live. Many of you have emailed questions to us in advance. As is often the case, we have received many more questions than we would normally be able to ask the candidates. However, we have had two different areas in this evening's forum where we have had only one candidate who has been willing to participate, and therefore they are not covered in this evening's forum. Unfortunately, we have only had Mr. Alvarez willing to participate in this evening's forum from Area 4. Mrs. Rosales had said that she was participating, but she did not sign on to our Zoom meeting. So we only have two candidates with us this evening, Mr. Bendt and Ms. Kropke, and they are both from Area 7. We therefore probably will get to all of the questions that you have sent in. They have been combined to avoid duplication. They have been screened to eliminate personal attacks or questions that do not pertain to the office of a trustee of the North Orange County Community College District. Assisting us this evening are our timekeepers, Maggie Lee and Deborah Vatz. And I will now introduce you to your candidates. There is Ryan Bendt and Kerry Kropke. Candidates drew lots for order, and the person who will give his opening statement first is Mr. Bendt. That means that Ms. Kropke will give her closing statement first. So, Mr. Bendt, if you would like to give your opening statement, please do so now.
Thank you very much. My name is Ryan Bendt. I'm the acting board president of the North Orange County Community College District, and I am a proud incumbent of Trustee Area 7. I'm a married father of 4, with my oldest being away at college and my younger 3 being in junior high and elementary school. My educational background began at Fullerton College. I originally went to the school to play football, and I realized I better work on my academics, so I told them I wasn't going to play and I was just going to study instead. And it was the right choice for me because from there I went on to Cal State Fullerton for my bachelor's degree. I've got 2 master's degrees, one in business administration and one in public administration, and I have 2 certificates in finance. I've taken many courses in higher education administration as well. So I'm very proud to be a Fullerton College alumni. My election story is kind of interesting as well. I was not planning on running for election in 2016, and what happened was the incumbent did not decide to come back. They decided not to run. So I had 3 days to jump in the race. Unfortunately, I had a lot of background in board governance, and I was able to run and win election against a really great candidate back then. My first year on the board was kind of a shock to the system because I brought a real alternative view compared to what they were used to, but we became friends and gained a lot of respect. And over time, I was very surprised at the end of the year that they elected me to be secretary of the board. That means that I was in line to become president this year. So I was secretary, then vice president, and then president of the board. After my first year, I was named the trustee of the year for Orange County, 2017. And in 2019, I was one of only 6 graduates to complete the Excellence in Trusteeship by the Community College League of California. And that's out of hundreds of trustees in California. I was one of 6. So I'm very proud of that. I look forward to earning your vote this year. Thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you, Mr. Bendt. Ms. Kropke.
Good evening, community, students, teachers, administration. I'm so happy everybody is here. My name is Kerry Kropke, and I am a school board member on the Brea Olinda Unified School District. I am running for NOCCCD. We'll just shorten it up and say I'm running for NOCCCD 7 because I believe I am the most qualified and best suited for this position. I believe that I bring a unique mix of education, governance, temperament, passion, and I think what is most needed right now, empathy for our students. I have devoted my life to public education. I am a teacher and work under the K through 12 umbrella and adult education. I am also a speech language pathologist, having a lot of passion for language. I wanted to go on and get a master's in that. I have 2 masters in education related fields, history and communication. And I believe it is incumbent upon all of us to be lifelong learners. And I consider myself a lifelong learner so that we can actually help collectively as a community, our next generation of learners. And at this time, we really need someone that chooses to listen to all the constituents in the NOCCCD community. We need someone that can find ways to agendize and get the votes necessary to move our community forward. I've watched this legislative team work, and I want to be on a team that is committed to civility, but most importantly, I want to be on a team that has robust, healthy, democratic disagreement and discussion so that we can move our student progress forward. I've spent a career building bridges among citizens, students, teachers, but my forward focus always is students. They are our mission. I'm also the proud parent of an 8-year-old child, and I'm really excited to be here this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Kropke. Let me say to the audience that we're noticing that some of our attendees have their hands raised or are putting notes into chat, and our forum this evening is not accommodating input from the audience or from the attendees. We are only going to be dealing with the questions that we have received in advance. So you might as well just relax and put your hands down and just listen to our candidates respond to the questions that we have received. They will probably cover what you are thinking of because we have a very wide range of questions that have come in from the community already. Thank you. So we're going to move on to the question portion of our evening. And we will simply go back and forth between the 2 candidates. Every candidate or both candidates will have an opportunity to answer every question. And some of the questions will come directly, were received directly for one candidate or another. And the bulk of them were received for both candidates, and they will be addressed that way. The first question is for Mr. Bendt. Mr. Bendt, actually, well, this is not the way we drew, but since there are only 2 of you, with your permission, we're just going to flip-flop, if that's all right.
That's no problem at all.
What is the role of a school board trustee, and how does the Board of Trustees set goal for the Chancellor? How is the role distinguished from that of the administrators?
Yeah, so great question. The Board of Trustees is basically responsible for one employee, and that's it. That's the Chancellor. So the Chancellor is our sole responsibility, and from there, every other employee falls underneath the Chancellor. We have a very intense process where we lay out our goals as a board with the Chancellor, and we do that multiple times in the year, but mainly once a year, and then we touch back on those goals to check our progress. The Chancellor is the one that will be in charge of the college presidents. In our case, we have 3 college presidents. We have a continuing education school president and the 2 colleges, Cypress and Fullerton College. So the role of the trustee is really to dictate what the majority of the board wants to the Chancellor, and it's the Chancellor's responsibility to delegate that authority that she has.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the role of the school board trustee, and how does the Board of Trustees set goals for the Chancellor? How is their role distinguished from administration?
The role of the trustee is governance. And the trustees collectively appoint a chancellor and determine their role. One of the things that's very important is when you determine these goals of the chancellor, like any superintendent, needs to have goals that are measurable and that the community can understand. When you set 30 different goals for a chancellor, it's difficult to measure and see, did we really actually accomplish these goals? So one of the things I think is important in governance is making sure that the goals are comprehensible and achievable. And if they're not, reviewing that. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question will go to first Ms. Kropke. Ms. Kropke, this came directly to you. What knowledge and experience can you bring to the College Board after serving 2 years on the Brea Olinda Board?
Yes, thank you. I don't think a person needs to be on a education board for 20 years in order to then decide that they're ready to make a jump. I am very lucky. I have been appointed to the California Health Facility Financing Authority, and that's up in the state of Sacramento. I was appointed by Speaker Rendon, and we have a $600 million budget up there. I'm a fiduciary up there. And so do you need to have a degree in actuary science to sit on these boards? No, you don't. You need to be good in governance. You need to be an excellent listener. You need to be a team player. You need to not be divisive. And you need to always put students first. The best indicator of someone's success is their past. And I have had levels of success working in public education, and I'm going to take that success and build on it.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt, did you want to respond to this question?
Yeah, I spoke to the executive director of that health board that she's on because the statement that she made for this election indicated that she specifically serves community college students. And I found out that that actually was not true. That health board may help community college students just as members of the general public, but they specifically do not partner with any community colleges. And so I thought it'd be a good time to bring that up.
Thank you. So our next question goes
Do I get to respond to that?
No, you do not. No. You can respond in your closing statement if you wish. This is a forum. It's not a debate. Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. Mr. Bendt, in your view, what are the 4 most important jobs of a community college trustee?
Well, the most important thing, it's kind of, it would be called the care and feeding of the CEO, the chancellor. You need to take care of the chancellor and make them feel comfortable. That's the main goal of the Board of Trustees, to not only hold them accountable, but to make sure that they have a friendly relationship with the board. We have a real problem in California community colleges with CEO turnover, chancellor turnover, and usually the average term is 3 years for a chancellor. Our CEO's well past 4 years now, and she's outstanding. We'd like to keep her as long as we can. I don't know if I have enough time to get to the other 3, but basically we have a lot of policies that come before us, and we need to vet those policies. We are not a rubber stamp board. We take everything that comes to us and give it a lot of scrutiny. If we need to send it back and request it to be better, we make those improvements and demand that. And fortunately, my board is a very strong board, and we're able to get policy that passed that's very strong as well. Sometimes it means it doesn't get passed the first time, and that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke, do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Wagner.
In your view, what are the 4 most important jobs of the community college trustee?
Yes, I would disagree a little bit with Trustee Bendt. The number 1 goal is not about the CEO. The number 1 goal are our students and our staff. The care and feeding of students and staff is critical. Of course, chancellors are important, but we have to decide the direction that our students are going in, their affordability, their college affordability, whether or not some of them are eating or not, homelessness issues, their ability to transfer in a timely manner. All of these markers are indicative of how successful we are. Our chancellor, our superintendent, of course, they are the CEO, but our mission number one, our students.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mrs. Kropke. Years ago, California established a master plan for education in the state with established roles for K-12 community college, CSU, and UC. What is the role of community colleges in the state education plan?
I think the role of community colleges is to be the bedrock of public education. For so long, community colleges have been thought of, this is just a temporary stop until I get to a Cal State, or this is just a temporary stop until I get to a trade tech, or this is just a temporary stop until I get to a UC. And that's not the role of our junior colleges. Our junior colleges are a place that we learn lifelong skills and a love of learning. It's a place that students come and become inspired. It's a place that our adult community comes back and gets retrained. We are in the middle of an epidemic right now, and many people in our community have lost jobs. They are going to be coming back to our local community colleges to retrain, to repurpose, to relearn. We are not just this is the first stop in the continuum of education. We are the beginning, but not necessarily the end.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt, did you want me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. Yeah, the community colleges are extremely important. I mean, there's a lot of people that there are students that go to the community colleges just seeking a 2-year degree or multiple certificates. We actually do have a lot of students that come back after receiving bachelor's and master's degrees as well, and they come back for additional certificates or a different major and that sort of thing. Obviously, transferring to the Cal State and UC schools is extremely important. Fortunately for our district, we're very strong in this area. Cypress College is ranked the #1 community college in the state, and Fullerton College is the #1 for UC Cal State transfers of students as well. So we are doing very well as far as having people come into our colleges and be able to go where they want to go from there. We have outstanding students that come in, 4.0 plus students that come in, and they're in our honors program, and they can go off into any university they want from here. But we also have a lot of students like I was that need to come in and learn how to do college and improve over time, and then get a spot in a Cal State or UC as well. So our colleges play a very important role for the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. Do you believe that the community colleges are living up to their part of that plan? And please explain.
I think the community colleges are exceeding their expectations at every level, and they have been for decades. I went to the community college. I went to Fullerton College over 20 years ago, and it's just as great today as it was when I went there. There is a lot of ability for students to learn how to participate in college, to gain the confidence that they can do it, that they can succeed at any UC or Cal State school. There's a lot of ability to be involved in local organizations, part of the colleges as well, so extracurricular type of activities. And so the community colleges play a vital role. When it comes to things like hunger issues and that sort of thing, our colleges have really stepped up across the state to make sure that our students that are food insecure or housing insecure have some solutions provided to them. And we actually have food banks on all of our campuses, as well as clothing banks for people that need clothes for things like job interviews or just daily life. So we are exceeding the expectations by not only educating our students, but also filling the needs of government in some ways as well.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke, did you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that the community colleges are living up to their part of the plan? And please explain.
I think it's important, Ms. Wagner, to always be very transparent. This is a yes and a no question, a yes and a no answer from me. No, we are not living up to all of our expectations. Community college can cost as much as $5,000. And I'll give you an example. I have a young woman who's a babysitter that helps me with my child from time to time, and she's working 2 and 3 jobs. I have another person who lives down the street, and we were having a conversation while I was walking my dog, and she was telling me about how she was living in her car. Affordability is really a very seminal issue for people in our community. Food is a seminal issue in our community. I work at a food bank on Tuesday. When we see people coming in from my school board, I see people coming in at collegiate age and their families feeding them. And so we have to really be honest and transparent about what the real nature is with our community in the time that we're in, which is a COVID crisis for many people. There are some wonderful, successful things about our junior colleges. I was lucky enough to go to Fullerton College and Cal State Fullerton. I was able to get some good training at Fullerton College and meet a whole different group of friends that inspired me to move on in a different direction, becoming a speech language pathologist. So we're doing a good job of welcoming back people of all ages.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mrs. Kropke, and this one tails on to the end of what you were saying, and it is sent to you. On your campaign Facebook posting, you stated that campuses are lacking. In what areas are the North Orange County community colleges and campuses and teachers lacking that limit a student's ability to achieve their goals?
Yes, our campuses, our communities, our country is lacking in mental health care. It is an epidemic. It is a crisis. It is a crisis for young people. When I went away to college, I was 17 years old. And a lot of times our young people really do not know how to reach out and ask for help. Simple things like having ombudsman buttons on different pages that you can click on and get some mental health advice. Being more transparent about how important mental health care is. I think that this is a critical problem. At Chaffer right now, last week, we just approved another 16 beds in a crisis stabilization unit, and those are for people who are having mental health issues and are thinking about suicide. I don't think we are having as a community an open conversation about mental health, and I think that we are morally called to do better in this area, not just pretend that everything's going well.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt, did you want to reply to this question?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I want to dispel the myth that community college costs $5,000 because that's just not true. We've actually been offering free tuition for the last couple of years, and it may be going away with the state budget and that sort of thing, but we've been also offering a lot of scholarships for people. Other than that, normally the community colleges cost $46 a unit. So you'd have to take a lot of units to make it up to $5,000. I'm sure that includes living expenses or something like that. As far as where we're lacking, our colleges aren't lacking for anything as far as I can tell. Our non-credit program, our non-credit school is obviously impacted the most with COVID-19. So we've handed out hundreds of laptops to help students be able to engage on Zoom classes and that sort of thing to help those income inequities and gaps. But it is definitely harder to serve the students when they're remote. So students that are hungry and that sort of thing, it's a lot harder when they're not on our campus, because when they're on our campus, we are able to help take care of them a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. How would you ensure that the components of the Educational and Facilities Master Plan are met? And what do you see are the most important aspects of that plan?
Well, there's been a lot of time put into the master plan. In fact, we had all kinds of community forums of our own for that. So we had a lot of feedback from all of our stakeholders from all around the community and all throughout the district. So the one benefit of that is it's not just some sort of top-down plan. It's more of a bottom-up plan where everybody agrees in it and everybody has a participatory responsibility in that governance of that document. So because of that, because of the feedback we've obtained, everybody wants to hold it accountable and make sure that what's promised in that document is actually carried out. We also have bond oversight as part of our responsibility because we've had a couple of bonds that were passed for the district. And so we take that very seriously. We have an independent bond oversight committee, and we just appointed 3 new members to it as well. So we are constantly monitoring our plans for our bonds and our master plans, and we regularly touch back upon those to make sure we are on track.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke?
Yes, I disagree with Trustee Bendt. I think that it's ridiculous to say that there's nothing that we can improve upon. And I don't know what universe he's in, but $46 a unit doesn't cover a cost of going to college. People need to eat, they need to be housed, they have gas, they have books, they have parking fees, they have licensing fees, they have athletic fees. It is expensive to go to junior college, and it is expensive for many of our students who do not, like my home, not necessarily have parents that have dual incomes, but could be single parent families, and these students have to work 2 and 3 jobs. So that's not a real reality. When Measure G was passed, a lot of taxpayer money came in, and the job is to make sure that you have oversight committees with that bond money. That's critically important. One of the most important things is that the community is welcomed in and that they are a part of the Citizens Oversight Committee and how that money is spent.
Did you want to comment about the master plan?
I just did.
Oh, that's the bond plan. That's different.
Excuse me, Mr. Bendt.
Facility master
we are-
plan drives your
Okay.
fund. Okay.
Both of you need to stop. This is not a conversation between the two of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Our
Wagner.
next question is for Ms. Kropke. Describe the standards for the Board of Trustees that are part of the ACCIC accreditation. Ms. Kropke?
I'm
The
sorry.
next question.
Yeah, I thought you said Mr. Bendt. I apologize. Go ahead.
It is for you. Describe the standards for the Board of Trustees that are part of the ACCIC accreditation.
I'm going to have to pass on that for right now.
Okay. Mr. Bendt, would you like
Yeah,
me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. We go by a couple different standards for accreditation, as well as the California Community College League is big on those. They kind of bring in the accreditation standards into their guidelines. So one of them is just the board CEO relations, as well as the board staff relations, as well as the board and amongst other board members relations. So a lot of it has to do with how much bad behavior, bad relations there are on the board, how much toxicity there is in the district. And then where it comes important, where the CEO and board relationship becomes important, is if you have high turnover of CEOs and managers, it causes all kinds of problems that definitely impact the students. We have all kinds of resources that are there to help the students, and I try to personally mentor students as much as I can on a personal level. But my job is governance and to start at the top. And so we need to make sure that our CEOs and presidents are happy, taken care of, that they're held accountable, but we cannot have high turnover. So that's one of the things that they look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. What role does the district play in accreditation?
Well, this last accreditation that we did, the district played a very large role. We actually did 3 accreditations in 1 year, went for Fullerton College, Cypress College, and NOCCCD. And in some cases, we had Fullerton College and Cypress College. They're both reporting up to the same district. And there were some answers that were a little bit different from each other. We had excellent staff members who were in charge of writing the accreditation reports. And we as trustees were reviewing those reports every other meeting, and they're about a phone book thick. And so they did an amazing job. But one of the things the district had to do to come in is kind of get everybody on the same page and say, hey, we're one district, we're one team. There's some things that need to be aligned. And because of the district's involvement and working with the college and the college presidents, we were able to get all 3 re-accredited with highest standards. So we were very proud of that success.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke? Did you want to respond to that question?
That was answered in full. Thank you. That was answered in full.
Okay. Our next question goes first to Ms. Kropke. Can you explain the difference between a basic aid district and our own income basis?
Basic aid, I think, is formulated having to do with your levels of poverty, foster youth, income of parents' housing, income of parents' income, whether you're foster youth, whether you're a single parent household, and there's a formula based on those three determiners.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt?
Yeah, was a question to compare the two? Is that what your question was, or?
I can just read it again. Can you
Okay, sure.
explain the difference between basic aid districts and our own income basis?
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I dealt more with the basic aid type of basis of funding when I was working with K-12 school site council and that sort of thing. We have all kinds of ways that our district gets revenue. We're actually in a hold harmless position right now with the state. So our funding is based on a lot of different criteria, including being shortfalled compared to a previous year. So right now we receive the tax revenue from the area, and we also receive all kinds of special grants as well based on income-based needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. I'd like to know which teachers are supporting your campaign.
Well, I'm not going to disclose which teachers. I have taken a pledge where I will not accept any union donations or any contractor negotiations or anybody or any business that will ever come before our board. I believe that that is highly unethical, and so I will never take that kind of money. I want to be completely unbiased because my job is to negotiate with the unions in good faith. Obviously, part of my job is to take good care of the teachers, faculty, and staff, but my other part of my job is to negotiate on behalf of the taxpayers in the district. So I will never take money, and I don't really seek their endorsements or anything like that. I do have several teachers on a personal level that I know who are supporting me, and I really appreciate them, but I don't want to really name them because I don't want them to be targets of any kind. I have a job to do. People elected me to do a serious job, and I take that job very seriously. And so I represent the taxpayers, and I represent the district when it comes into union negotiations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kropke?
Yeah, what's unethical is Mr. Bendt's handling of the taxpayer dollars. He has not been appropriating money appropriate. And you're right, you wouldn't seek the endorsement of teachers because they don't believe in you. No confidence vote, because you don't support your teachers. You don't even care if your teachers' children have health care.
Excuse me, Ms. Kropke, we don't do personal attacks. You can answer the question, but please don't speak directly to Mr. Bendt. Speak to the audience.
I was enjoying it, but
They
thank you,
asked
Janice.
if you have teachers that have supported your campaign. Please speak to that question.
Here's what people want, Ms. Wagner. They want a trustee on the dais that will fight for students, that will fight for teachers, that will fight for their community. That's what they want. They don't want a bunch of bureaucratic nonsense that they can't understand. They want to understand where their money is going and if it's being appropriately used, not if it's being hoarded to the hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm not under investigation right now. The trustee on this side of the screen is.
That's a joke, by the way.
Our next question goes first to Mr. Kropke, or to Ms. Kropke. Ms. Kropke, this one came directly to you. It says that you, on your campaign Facebook postings, you say you will utilize taxpayer dollars wisely, effectively, and efficiently. Please elaborate how your plan is different from what the other trustees have been doing.
Currently, this district has over $100 million in reserve while students are going hungry, while students don't have clothes, while students are living in cars. We have teachers that have defined benefits up to $1,300 a month. People that have worked their entire careers with masters, with PhDs, that are having to pay as much as $900 a month extra for a second dependent. I hear from teachers about children who can't even get any mental health care, who can't get a COVID test paid for. That's misappropriation of taxpayer dollars. Our job as fiduciaries is to take care of students, teachers in our community, not starve out our teachers.
Mr. Bendt, did you want to respond to this question?
Sure. I mean, our district has been very proud to have some sort of reserves. We take fiscal responsibility very seriously, and the entire board's on board with that. In the past, prior to me joining the district, when there were bad times, the district was able to tap into that money without having to beg for money from the state government or the taxpayers to be able to weather those storms with teachers. Part of the reason that our reserves are also so large is because our teachers union refuses to take an offer. So we are working very hard to get to an agreement there. And certainly the reserves will be spent down a little bit when that happens. We've been fighting really hard to get our teachers good offers to make sure they're paid fairly, but we can't give a gift of public funds. It's not our money, it's the taxpayers' money. We have to negotiate very carefully. Over the years, the teachers have negotiated for the benefits packages that they have. And sometimes they choose to have more salary and less benefits. So that's really not our job to make that up in one negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. How familiar are you with the Student Success Funding formula? And please describe the changes that have occurred in the last few years.
I'm pretty familiar with it. I mean, the way it works now is that we are certainly, they've changed the allocations quite a bit and how different things are paid for. But basically, we're paid for the success of students, which means we need them to graduate. We need to graduate, and we need them to graduate within a reasonable amount of time. We need them to have associate's degrees and then also certificates as well. And so a lot of our students now are graduating with multiple associate's degrees, multiple certificates, and that sort of thing, and that helps the district ultimately with our funding. So it's something that we still struggle with. Students that come in, and it doesn't help us for them to take 10 years, and it doesn't help them either, because the longer a student takes to get through with the school, the less likely they are to ever graduate. So we try to do everything we can to encourage them to be successful.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke?
Yes, this has to do with supplemental allocation based on the number of students receiving grants, and also, like Mr. Bendt said, based on the success of transfers or not. Going to junior college should not take 4 years because you can't get classes, and that is a real struggle for a lot of students, especially when they're working, at Trader Joe's for $16 an hour and trying to juggle schedules, and they couldn't get the right class, and so it takes them another semester. So it's our job to get our students in and like a bridge, get them transferred to where they want to go. Is it trade tech? Is it a 4-year? Is it a mentorship? Is it with small business or starting a small business? Our job is to make our students as successful as possible in the shortest amount of time, and that's getting them to where they want to be with their career opportunities.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Kropke. What are the major expenditures in the community college budget?
Always staffing, all right? People cost money, there's no doubt about it. But let's talk about what people do. People create worth. People create content. People create education. Our greatest asset are our teachers, our professionals, our skilled labor. There is no greater asset on a campus. And COVID has shown precisely that. You have teachers that have gone into their homes and turned it into this incredible classroom within a 3-day period. If nothing, COVID has shown the miracles that teachers perform. So labor does cost. It does cost. It's part of your budget, but it is your most important asset.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt?
Well, that's absolutely correct. Over 90% of the budget is for faculty and staff. But at the same time, you do have to have a balance with your spending because you can get in very bad shape as a district. We did fortunately take care of our teachers and staff when we tried to give as many people bonuses as we could for transitioning for this COVID time, and it was a lot of work that they did in a very short amount of time, so they're to be commended for that. Our professors are incredible. But at the same time, we have seen districts basically go bankrupt in the old days. San Francisco City College at one point had way too high of a ratio of their faculty and staff salaries versus the rest of their budget. and they had to be taken over by another district's board and to be basically saved, and they had to be bailed out. So we have to do our job and keep things in balance, and we really work hard to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question is first for Mr. Bendt. Colleges all over the country are facing massive budget cuts. How would you prioritize what should be cut from district and college budgets?
It's a very difficult choice to make, and really you have to cut a little bit everywhere. We've just had an announcement actually from the state chancellor's office that the budget is expected to be cut by 8%, or actually it's going to be cut by 10%, but they're giving a 2% COLA, which nets out 8%. What they basically said is we could go back to our unions, our faculty and staff, and negotiate their current salaries down up to 8%. But we are trying not to do that. We want to take care of our faculty and staff and keep people happy and working hard and everything that they do. So this is part of why we have reserves. This helps us weather these types of storms. Hopefully we can get past this temporary budget crisis. The reason for the 8% cuts from the state level was obviously because of COVID-19 and tax shortfall. We're short by hundreds of billions of dollars. And so they're going to ask us, everybody, to cut. So we're going to have to be very careful in doing that.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke?
The question is, when is a rainy day? We're in the middle of a pandemic. 40,000 people are getting COVID a day. So this is the rainy day. We always hear the sky is falling, the sky is falling. The sky has fallen. There's $100 million in reserve. I hear this all the time. We have to save it for a rainy day. We have to save it for a rainy day. It's raining. It's pouring. People are snoring. It's problematic. The money is there. It's being hoarded. That's not what taxpayers want. The taxpayers want their money spent appropriately.
Thank you. On the same subject, our next question is for Ms. Kropke. How would you characterize the district's financial position today?
Say that one more time, Ms. Wagner, the last part cut out.
How would you characterize the district's financial position currently?
The district's in a tremendous financial position, and that's been at the back and on the back of the skilled people that have made these districts award-winning. Not 5, not 7, not 8, not 10 trustees, the people that walk into the classrooms on a daily basis. They've created the value. They've been left out in the cold.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt.
Well, I kind of changed that characterization a little bit because I think that that obviously our district's in great shape, but also our teachers and staff, everybody, these are great jobs to have for sure. We want to pay equitably. We want to make sure we're competitive in the marketplace, but these are very good jobs. Let's put it that way. You'd be proud to have one. So I think we're in a good position overall, but we really don't know the future. We don't know the budget cuts or how long they're going to last. So we are very careful with our negotiations, for example, because any deal we make is permanent. And you could wipe out the entire $100 million, you say, in 3 years of mismanagement. So we need to be very careful. We're trying to negotiate very fairly and that sort of thing. We want to pay our teachers and staff as fairly as we can, but we also are not a wealthy community college district. We are in comparison to some, but that's because they've managed this very well for decades.
Thank you. The next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. How would you prioritize a return to classes on campus with safety concerns? Which stakeholders need to be considered in making this decision?
Well, we are involving every single person around our campus. Obviously, the teachers teachers and students are the first ones that have to be on board with it. We have been negotiating with this since the initial closures because there were some classes that we couldn't transition online, like nursing and things that are very hands-on, like chemistry labs and that sort of thing. So we've been in negotiations with the teachers unions and the teachers and students as well to try to come to solutions for the ones that cannot be online, because we don't want people to take 4 years or 3 years to graduate just because of this pandemic. So we need to be very careful. We follow the government guidelines. We are in partnership with, obviously, the UCs and Cal States. We really can't open much sooner than any of them. But we are involving every single one of our stakeholders, the community, our teachers, our students, and our administrators. But we know a lot of students really need to get back to campus, and they want to because it's very difficult for them to learn and be home during this crisis.
Thank you. Ms.
Thank
Kropke?
Yes, you know what, nobody is recommending mismanagement of funds. That's a mischaracterization that Trustee Bendt made. When we're spending money, it's appropriately, it's judiciously, it's transparent, it's ethical. As far as reopening, it's not a one size fits all. And every district across the country, elementary schools, high school districts, college districts, UCs are all struggling with this, how to do this safely. Students and their welfare must come first. And we know that when we've opened up too early and had no barometers for safety in place, we end up having these massive outbreaks. So we have to be mindful in that. We can't just say, let's willy-nilly and everybody congregates. It's gotta be spaced. It's gotta have some type of hybrid so that spacing is appropriate in rooms. We need to think about how we use the space on our campuses as well as how we use space in our homes.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Kropke. If elected trustee, would you support the Fullerton College Foundation remaining independent or recommend it become an auxiliary of the college, and why?
Could you say that one more time?
If elected trustee, would you support the Fullerton College Foundation remaining independent or recommend it become an auxiliary of the college, and why?
I don't know enough about this issue to answer about it. And that's a transparent answer. I'm not going to sit here and go, well, I think it should be this, or I should think it should be that. It's important as a trustee that you get the information and that you make good decisions with your other trustees on the dais. That's what people want. They want you to take information, critically analyze it, and come up with a situation and a solution that benefits the community, that benefits students one, that benefits and the entire community.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt?
I have the opposite problem. I know too much and I really can't comment about all of it because some of it's in closed session. But what I'll tell you is that we have a lot of respect for our Fullerton College Foundation and all of our foundations that help support students. I'm very grateful to that organization over the years. The one thing I'll say is we do have two foundations. We have a Cypress College and a Fullerton College Foundation, and we have one that's been very high performing and the other one has not been as high performing as we would like. So there's going to be changes, there needs to be changes, and that's all I can say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. In keeping with Resolution 19/20-24 that affirms Black Lives Matter, what action do you think the North Orange County Community College District should adopt?
My turn. What we're doing on that, and basically I want to make it clear that on that particular resolution, we had a huge discussion before passing that resolution, and the discussion involved that particular wording is not in support of Black Lives Matter, the organization, but just the in general Black student lives. So as a campuses, what we are doing right now is there is a lot of different subcommittees going on right now by a lot of our Black professors and minority professors to provide solutions and recommendations that they could bring up to the chancellor and the board and the college presidents on how to make sure that all lives feel valued on our campuses, including our faculty, staff, and students. And so that's what the resolution was about. It was introduced by one of my cohort trustees who thought that was very important in light of recent events.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke?
Yeah, I think it's a shame that Trustee Bendt knows so much and yet students are homeless, students are hungry, teachers are being underpaid, and benefits are not where they should be. So it sounds like there could be more knowledge about what are pressing issues for people in our community. Talking about subcommittees, that's not enough. You know, I'm on subcommittee this, I'm grandiose about that, ridiculous. Action is needed. And equality is a bipartisan issue. Can you say Black Lives Matter? I can unequivocally say it, Black Lives Matter. This scenario where we don't support the organization, it's the same nonsense they used to say to Martin Luther King. Do you support Black lives and believe in equality? Yes or no? Yes, I do, unequivocally. And as the parent of an African-American child, I understand that there is structural racism that we all have to own, that we all have to be transparent about, and that we all have to work to unlearn and make better policy and law around.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Kropke. How can the district incorporate anti-racism into the educational master plan?
That last part cut out. Master, say it one more time, please, Ms. Wagner. I'm sorry.
How can the district incorporate anti-racism into the educational master plan?
It takes will. It takes will. Is it a priority? And we have to have communities that come in. We have to welcome back our communities into the boardroom. It shouldn't be called a boardroom. It should be called a community room. And our trustees have to make that a priority. When things are not prioritized, they're not agendized. And we have to get away from this idea that Black lives is political. It's not. Every student, every person in our community matters, but we also have to recognize that some people are not getting fair shakes and in fact discriminated against. But it takes the will of a majority on a board to do that. And it can be adopted and it can be put in, and it must be done with community partners, our teachers, our taxpayers, our students. Everybody needs to have input and feel valued.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt.
I'm detecting a little bit of a problem here because, you know, I really advocate on my board to keep partisanship out of it and to be nonpartisan. And the reason for that is basically because our students, we serve the whole community from all different political persuasions. And so I don't want to abandon or alienate anybody. When you talk about Black Lives Matter, unfortunately, the main organization, the national organization, not all the subchapters, because some of them are independent, but the main organization is a heavily partisan organization. And that's why we didn't want to support it as a board for partisan reasons. We support the idea of neutrality. And so I think that's something that's very important. As far as serving our students, that is in the educational master plan. And it was just passed a couple months ago where anti-racism is included. It's actually a whole chapter. So it is in there. And also the subcommittees that we're doing, they're not to be dismissed. They're very important. Those people have voices. And we're going to try to integrate as much as we can, like I said, to make sure that all of our students feel valued and welcome in our campuses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. There are approximately 80,000 students in the North Orange County Community College District. Do we know what the ethnic breakdown is of those students? Can you give me an idea of what that would be?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. We have equity reports all the time. I think it's I'm going to be completely guessing. I think it's 65% Hispanic at this point. It's basically very reflective of our community at this point. The demographics have changed a lot in the North Orange County Community College District. And that's one of the arguments that we have when our equity and diversity team, we have a whole department dedicated to it. And the idea is, you know, there's certainly a goal to have your teachers reflect the students. Well, sometimes when you have a teacher that has a 30-year career, you know, they're not always going to reflect the students of the day. So it takes time to be able to do that. So that's when we really take a very close look at all of our demographics continuously. And we have a whole department dedicated to it. What I encourage students to do is go out there, get through school, go get your master's degree, and come back and teach. Because to me, that's the best way for our students or our teachers to reflect our students, is for our students to graduate with high degrees and come back and teach the next generation.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke?
Yeah, there is no neutrality in as far as injustice goes. There's no neutrality. When we see injustice, we call injustice out. And as a trustee, you are put in a position of honor. You are an education leader in your community. And when you see such injustice and remain silent and neutral, it's compliance. And our students know that. It's alienating, it's discriminating. When we say, I didn't tell a lie, I was quiet, it's called a lie by omission. We can't lie by being quiet. We have to speak out when we see injustice. And we have to be able to be moral leaders in our community. That's what people expect from trustees that sit on school boards, is that they are moral leaders. Sometimes our trustees are the people that help shape our community. They implement programs, ethnic studies. They have our students learn about their own histories. One of the greatest things I was able to do was to learn ethnic study program, African American studies, and learn how much I was missing. We have to offer that to everybody in our community. Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Wagner.
Our next question goes first to Ms. Kropke. Do you support housing for students on campuses?
I absolutely support housing on campus for students. I think it's very difficult. Cars, gas, commuting, navigating, parking, very challenging. Students spend so much of their time working 2 and 3 and 4 jobs, just trying to get themselves to and from. Not to mention some families have 1 car and they're all sharing cars. When students are on campus, they can really do the job of being a student. And I've seen what a difference that makes. When our students are able to buckle down, be secure, have access to their libraries, have access to their classes, they're able to expedite their stay and move in and move out. And that's what's critical in a junior college.
Mr. Bendt.
I mean, I'm open to the idea. It has not been done on our campuses, and I don't know how many campuses in California actually have housing on campus. We have certainly done things to try to find housing solutions with different state grants for students who are housing insecure and that sort of thing. But you know, we certainly don't have the land currently, and I'm not a fan of eminent domain to seize the neighborhoods around us. The one thing we have done, though, to help people in such situations with commuting and that sort of thing, is we have negotiated with the OCTA, where every student has a free bus pass now, and the buses can be used unlimited in Orange County, and that's actually been taken advantage of by our students. So it really helps a lot of them that are 1-car families or no-car families to get around, to get to and from campus. And it also takes some life skills to navigate the buses as well. So we're very proud of those types of programs to help students navigate the hardship of living in Orange County today. It's a very expensive place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. How would you characterize the relationship between the district and the unions?
The district and the unions, you know what? I would say that it's changed a lot in the last year. Changed for the worse, unfortunately. One thing is, I wouldn't say, when I say unions, it's kind of hard because to me, the relationship is pretty good with the union members, which is the teachers, faculty, and staff. But the actual union executives who were voted by their members, the board changed for the United Faculty, for example, in the last year. And unfortunately, it went from a good relationship where it felt like we were getting somewhere, even though they're very difficult negotiators always. We felt like we could work with them, and we had personalities that were able to say, hey, we can move something forward. But in the last year, it's been very toxic. We have completely lost any traction on that. It's been very tragic, and it's really tragic on behalf of the members because they're the ones who are missing out. Part of the reasons we have high reserves is because we can't work out a deal, and we really need to. So any members listening, I hope you do something about that. Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Kropke?
Your relationship can undoubtedly be better. We can always improve in our communication with our stakeholders. You know, I've worked in public education for 17 years, and there is just no excuse ever to not have a good relationship with our teachers and faculty. It takes an open mind, it takes willingness, and it doesn't take a sky is falling mentality all the time. It takes creative and innovative thinking and seeing where we can do better, where people perceive they've been slighted. This idea of eminent domain I didn't bring up, no one brought that up. I think when we just give excuses about, I think it's a good relationship, now it's not a good relationship, those are all excuses. No one really cares. At the end of the day, is your staff and faculty being treated well? Is it a great place to work? And by far and large, a lot of people have problems with it. They've spent 10, 12, 15, 18 years getting educated. and they're making $88,000 a year. Mr. Bendt may think that's great, but there's college students that go out and are social media experts making $88,000 when people have $200,000 worth of loan to develop incredible skill sets and are not able to pay those loans down because they're not being paid appropriately.
Our next question is for Ms. Kropke. What recommendations do you have to help resolve the impasse in the North Orange County Community College District contract?
I missed the last 3 words. Say it one more time, Ms. Wagner.
What recommendations do you have to help resolve the impasse in the North Orange County Community College District contract with the unions?
This is the same as what I just mentioned earlier, being able to have open and transparent conversations, being willing to listen to what's going on all sides of the table. So many times in these impasses, we're sitting on opposite sides of the table and we have people that bluster and bully and assume that they know everything. What it requires is someone who really wants to listen and is there to really come to the middle, find common ground, and understand, why do people feel this way? What is it I've been told? Sometimes our executive team, our chancellors, our superintendents aren't giving us all the information that we need. And sometimes in mediation, the mediator is not being as transparent as possible. Sometimes it requires 2 parties having face-to-face conversations and deciding that they're going to move. That's important, having an openness and a willingness to have these conversations.
Mr. Bendt?
Well, I'm only one member of the board, so I'm 1 vote out of 7. And I know some of the unions we negotiate try to make it look like I'm the only person on the board, but really I can be outvoted at any time. One of the things that we're doing is we're obviously going to mediation and that sort of thing to try to get through impasse. But I think I can't speak for the rest of my board, but I'm willing to make a deal at any point if we can get to a deal. And it doesn't matter to me how disrespectful the other side has been. I'd like to get to an agreement that's good for our teachers. But it's one of those things that, like I said, I'm 1 out of 7, and I feel like we will definitely do right in the end. We just are having a really hard time with this current people that we're negotiating with. And I think that that's going to change in the future. But I'd still like to have a deal that helps our teachers in the meantime.
Thank you. Our next question is first for Mr. Bendt. What percentage of community college students obtain an AA?
I'm sorry, I missed the last 2 words there.
What percentage of community college students obtain an AA degree?
I know it's less than 50% in the state of California. I don't know our exact numbers at Fullerton College and Cypress College right now. A lot of people that start school do not finish. Other people may finish elsewhere where we can't track them. Fortunately, in the state of California, we are excellent at data gathering. It's one of the things that is very strong. So if people end up at another community college or Cal State or UC, we could typically track them down and understand if they ever finished. But it kind of changes when you go to private college from there, or private technical education type of program, or if you go out of state as well. So I know it's definitely a goal it's not 100%, that's for sure. Most people that start don't finish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Kropke?
I think even that comment about it doesn't matter how disrespectful they've been, you can see that there's a level of disdain for teachers and faculty. And that is not indicative of all the trustees on the dais, but I do think— It
wasn't about the whole teachers. It wasn't about the teachers.
There's a level of disdain, and it's not appropriate. Our teachers are the people who create value for our students. Our students
wasn't the teachers.
Campus, our students come to campus to get enriched by our students.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to ask ourselves, why don't our students finish? They're not just going to another, well, I'm here and now I'm going to go down the road to that one. They don't finish because of affordability, not because it's $46 a unit, because it's $5,000, $6,000. It's very expensive. Affordability still is a major problem for many American families. We have to acknowledge that, not pretend it doesn't exist. It does exist in Orange County. It does exist for our students. It does exist for our families.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Ms. Kropke. What role of community college What is the role of community colleges in developing the technical workforce of today?
I think it's critical to developing the technical workforce today. I think by and large, one of the things when I was running for Brea School Board is I walked to over 2,500 houses in North Orange County, right? And people are not happy that people don't make things anymore. You know, bring back shop, bring back this, bring back that, create this. We don't create products. And that's where our true wealth is in the creation of products. I think it's critically important. We have so many people that are so talented. And when they get on these junior college campuses and they get to experience these classes, their minds are opened up to a whole new career they weren't even thinking about. I believe this is how our country recovers from this COVID economy, is building our way out. Our junior colleges are the path to doing that.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt?
I would say it's mind-blowing to see the kind of classes that are at our community college level campuses. We have so many different computer courses, technology courses, and that sort of thing. And we are continuously partnering with businesses to basically tell us what they're needing, what they need as far as training of future employees goes, and what kind of classes that they need offered. So I'm very proud of the success of our colleges for offering those level of courses. I remember 20-something years ago when I took different computer classes at Fullerton College, how advanced they were and how applicable they were to my business and professional life. So it's something that we've always been involved in, going back decades, and we will continue to be at the forefront of that. I think the biggest thing on that, Janice, is actually talking to businesses and getting their input on what they're needing in the workplace, so that we can make sure that we are offering those classes to our students who are going to have relevant coursework, whether they go on or not, or just graduate Fullerton College, or just even take one class, just so that that one class is applicable to the workforce and they can use that for the rest of their career. So we're very proud to be able to offer those.
Thank you. Our next question goes first to Mr. Bendt. Students are facing challenges with remote learning. What should the district do to help them?
Well, the district has done just about everything I think it could possibly do. Initially, getting online was obviously very difficult, but the teachers did a great job. They're to be commended. They basically got all courses online in 3 days that were able to be transitioned online. We did have challenges, like as I said, about like chemistry courses and those things that have to be in person and labs and that sort of thing. So the district has done a lot as far as our non-credit program. I know for sure they handed out hundreds of laptops, and I think there were several hundred laptops were donated by HP to the district. So the district has done things where it's not all government taxpayer money. We're actually having businesses that have partnered with us to be able to generously donate to our students to help overcome significant obstacles that they might have. So we're going to continue to do those partnerships to get help where we can and to be there for our students any way they need to survive this time and graduate on time.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke?
Could you repeat it one more time, Ms. Wagner, please?
Sure. Students are facing challenges with remote learning. What should the district do to help them?
One-to-one technology is critical. There are many students that are still going without. A lot of times I hear that everybody's got one-to-one technology. That's just not the reality. You just have to talk to college students who are going to school and do not have that. So there are some barriers to that. LA Times, OC Register has talked about that, how connectivity has been a very difficult thing for many of our students. We also assume that because a student has a laptop, that they're going to have internet connectivity, that internet is turned on, that families who have parents that are no longer working are able to afford internet. So there are definitely some barriers with our students in technology right now. And this idea, we talked about teachers and how they were able to turn it around in 3 days, and yet it's just talk. I appreciate teachers. Teachers are great. Teachers are wonderful. But by the way, no health care for your kids, even though every other college district in the state of California has it. You guys can just have a bottle of Robitussin and a Band-Aid. We don't care about your kids. As trustees, we need to care more.
Ms. Kropke, thank you. Our next question is first for Ms. Kropke. North Orange County Community College District has one of the most comprehensive and largest adult education non-credit institutions in the state, the North Orange Continuing Education. What is the role of non-credit education in the district and the community it serves? And how would you promote this role and support North Orange Continuing Education as one of the North Orange County Community College District 3 institutions?
Could you repeat that, Ms. Wagner? That was so long.
It's long, I understand.
Is that more comprehensible for our viewers? Could you say that one more time, please?
So within North Orange County Community College District, there is a comprehensive and large adult non-credit institution called the North Orange Continuing Education. What is the role of non-credit education in the district, in your opinion, and the community that it serves? How would you promote this role and support it within North Orange County Community College District?
It plays a critical. Thank you. It plays a critical role. We want our community to get educated, not just because they're on their way to go to a UC, but because of the value of education. We need to find a way to advertise and work with community partners so that we're welcoming people back. People that said, I wasn't great in math, or I didn't like reading. We have to find ways to outreach to everyone in our community so that they understand that the junior college is a place for them, that there is a place, that there is a class to get their interest back in academia, to get their interest in learning a new trade because their career is being phased out in the new economy. It's incredibly important that we are able to communicate to the community though, and that requires clever advertising, community partners. People don't know about these opportunities because they just don't encounter the information. So making the information very available to our community.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt.
So NOCCCD is an incredible school. We are one of the best non-credit programs in the state for sure. We basically have two different sides for our graduations. For example, we have high school diploma completers, people that are coming back for their high school education as adults. And we also have a career technical graduates like pharmacy technicians and that sort of thing. In between there, we have about 1 million classes. It's incredible the offerings that they have for anything from childcare to also programs for students with special needs and disabilities. So we're very proud of the offerings and what they serve the community. It's not always about transitioning to community college with NOCCCD, but certainly some students can. We also have English as a second language, a lot of language classes as well. So the life skills that people get at NOCCCD for no charge basically is incredible for their ability to work in America, to participate in our governance, to be able to take care of themselves and their children. And some students can also go ahead and go on to community colleges as well. So we're very proud of that program.
Thank you. We're getting very close to the end of our forum. Our next question is first for Mr. Bendt. We'll probably have time for two more questions for each of you before we come to closing statements. Mr. Bendt, what needs to be done to ensure sustainability efforts within the district?
And by that, you mean green energy? Is that what you mean, sustainability, or you mean financial?
I
okay.
do not know.
So we,
I
okay,
didn't
so
write
we,
the question.
Okay, so I got it. So we work very hard with our fiscal sustainability, so I won't touch upon that. As far as our green energy goes, on our buildings and our construction, we are doing everything we can to make them as energy as efficient as possible. Sometimes when you're doing construction projects, you don't always get the certification because it may cost an extra couple $1 million, but we are trying to construct everything to that level. We are looking at solar energy, in our parking lots and that sort of thing. We've been looking at that for quite a while. We have completely reduced our air conditioning usage at Cypress College because they have a giant water chiller tower that they've implemented. So we are looking at sustainability at every level. And the good news is it's not just about being green for the environment, which is very important, but it's actually about saving the district money as well, because we have to keep a lot of people cool. We have to keep energy costs low. And when it makes sense to introduce green energy to do that, we are very happy to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke.
Yes, we need to be fiscally prudent, but we also need to be environmentally sustainable. The state of California is on fire for a reason. We have to acknowledge what's going on with climate. We have to acknowledge what's going on in the world. And it's our job as trustees to think about the future and how we have impact in the decisions that we make. It's critically important. Ms. Wagner, how many more questions do we have?
You're each going to get one more, and then it'll be time for your closing statements.
Okay, thank you. I budgeted for an hour.
Okay.
I'm enjoying it.
Well, the next question is first to you, and we have a range of questions, probably 3 or 4 that came to you, specifically to you, that are on the issue of why you only served on the Brea Olinda School Board for 2 years, why you're leaving after only 2 years, why you aborted your campaign for that district to come to this district, whether it had anything to do with a altercation with the Brea police. Can you please address that issue?
It's this simple. I'm looking to serve. It's that simple. I'm looking to serve. And I think this is what people get tired of. People get tired of people that sit on boards for 20 years, 12 years, 18 years. Can you imagine if you had a trustee, let's just say you had a trustee that didn't believe in art, and they were on your board of your college district for 20 years, all the opportunities you'd missed. I think as citizens, it's all our jobs to run and create value and bring new ideas and bring new passion. It's in all of us. No one is special that runs. It's just a desire to serve. I saw a wonderful opportunity to serve thousands of students, not just 200, 300, 600, thousands of students. And that's a calling. And I feel called to serve, and I'm excited about that.
Thank you. Mr. Bendt, did you want to respond to this question?
Sure. Yeah, I'm also called to serve, and I'm very proud to be here. I would say that it's very important to have good relations with our local police departments. That is critical. We actually have MOUs, or memoranda of understandings, with all of our local police departments, because if a crisis happens at one of our colleges, they need to be there. We need them as backup. We have campus security on campus, but we need to have people that respect the police, that work with them. And so I do disagree with the answer. I think that there was not really an opportunity to stay at that board, and I think that there were probably some offerings of funding that made it appealing to come try me out. So I really disagree with what was just said, and I think it's important to honor our police department.
Thank you. So our last question, we'll go first to Mr. Bendt. It is a general question, and then we'll go on to our closing statements. Why do you think you are best qualified for this position on this board?
Well, I'm undoubtedly best qualified, I think, because I was better qualified, I believe, 4 years ago before even taking this role, based on all my experience on serving on different boards, including in K-12 education, on PTA boards, school site council. I was a university MBA program a board member as well. And then once I came to this job, I took it immediately seriously from day one. And in my first year, I worked extremely hard to educate myself, bring myself up to speed for any shortcomings I had at that time. And I have educated myself vigorously over the last 4 years with the goal of becoming one of the best trustees in the state. Now, I believe I serve with a lot of other excellent trustees in the state. My entire board is very strong. And so I'm very honored to be part of it. But I do bring a diverse view, a different perspective that offers checks and balances. And so I am very happy to continue for another 4 years serving you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kropke.
I think if you're one of the best trustees in the state, you don't take your team into fact finding, and there aren't open investigations about you. So
sometimes you do.
I'm not so sure about that. And I'm also not so sure about tooting one's own horn as being one of the best in the state. How do we measure that? Who was on the society that gave you that trophy? There are plenty of incredible people. I hear this all the time. This just annoys people. Let's just be honest.
I'll be happy to answer if it's a question.
This annoys our community when people say, I'm the only one with this skill set. We have so many talented people that sit on that dais right now. Anybody who wins this election would be lucky to serve with all those fine people on that dais. But guess what? We also have a lot of fine people watching, a lot of fine people who think, could I do that? Here's what I want to say to you, and especially to the young women watching. Yes, you can. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be open to hearing everyone and their viewpoints. And most importantly, you have to be transparent about what you failed on. Everyone fails on any board, but it's important to fail forward, learn, admit it,
Thank you, Ms.
be
Kropke.
transparent, and grow.
Thank you. Okay, and now we have come to the time for our closing statements. And first to give her closing statement will be Ms. Kropke.
Would you say that one more time, Ms. Wagner? I apologize.
It is time for closing statements, and you are the first to give your closing statement. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. We have to ask ourselves, why don't many people participate in our local school boards? That's something over the last 2 years I've thought a lot about. They're boring, they're tedious. People don't feel that they're heard. They come and make one comment, the board never responds. They don't know if their input is ever heard. Our local college districts, any school board is the best that democracy can be. It needs to be a place, it shouldn't be a school board anymore. It needs to be a community room where people come and they give their thoughts, their inputs. They're part of shared decision making. We need to welcome people back, make our boards transparent, put them on television, allow people to participate. Sure, we can follow the ground rules. Sure, we have to follow different procedures that are critical, but we also need to think about ways that we can rethink how to deliver our local government collegiate district. We need to think, how can we get people involved? Because when more people are involved, we get new ideas, we get better thoughts, and we can truly rethink public education in the way that many of our teachers have already done. We need to do as good in the boardroom as our teachers have done going online. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity of being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Bendt, your closing
Yes,
statement.
I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this forum, because I really think it's given voters a choice between two very different candidates. And I didn't know Ms. Kropke very well before this meeting, but I've gotten to know her a lot better by listening to her answers. I'm fearful that I'm sensing a heavy bias in favor of the group that we need to negotiate with on behalf of the taxpayers, and that to me is dangerous. The choice is clear. My goal is to not only win this election, but to win it by as big a margin as I possibly can to send a message. And I need your vote to do that. I'm proudly endorsed by the entire Yorba Linda City Council and Cecilia Hupp from the Brea City Council, and I'd like to have your support as well on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the end of our candidate forum for this evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of North Orange County and the North Orange County Community College District, I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Thanks to our timekeepers and to our candidates and to our staff who have been working hard to present the technical side of this evening's forum. Links to the recording of this evening's forum will be available on the North Orange County Community College District website. Most of all, we need to thank our candidates for running and for participating in this forum. I'd like to also especially thank Miguel Alvarez and Dave Garcia for their willingness to participate in the forum, but who were not able to participate because their opponents were not participating as well. Without their willingness to serve, our democracy simply would not work. And to all of you, a reminder to please vote. Your votes will count. Have a plan, execute your plan. The only way your vote won't count is if you don't make it. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.